A very good evening all. It is a beautiful raining evening all over India. So we are starting the show, the Pan India, and it's a beautiful evening all the Pan India. Webinar are going to stay. So here I introduce my co-moderator Gogte sir, Dr. Pareksha Gogte, Vice Chairman of International Society of Manual Small Incision Cataract Surgery. He has 100 plus two PubMed index publications to his credit. His great interest in cataract surgery, community eye health, pediatric ophthalmology, training, research, and contributed immensely work towards the cataract training and research. And he's a very active member of scientific committee of All India Ophthalmological Society. And he's the founder of Dr. Gogte's Eye Clinic and Community Eye Care Foundation, Pune. To you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajvi. Thank you. You're doing this from Bathinda, and I'm here in Pune, and we have people here literally from all across the country. So that is the, what shall we say, the power and the beauty of technology, that we can all connect and present together. So I would go through the list of the panelists. First, we have Dr. Amulya Sahu, who is the founder chairman of ISMSICS, who's got all of us together. He is the past president of Bombay Ophthalmological Association, and he is internationally acclaimed for having introduced the 2 mm manual SICS technique. He's also the founder chairman of the Sahu Group of Hospitals in Mumbai. With him, we have my senior friend, Dr. Jagannath Poramani, the executive chairman of ISMSICS, one of the finest ophthalmologists in the city and the country. He is known. His Surya Netralaya is famous for offering excellent patient care, and he has done enormous amount of work for reducing and making the best use of astigmatism in small incision cataract surgery. He's also designed the axe chopper for cataract surgery. We also have amongst us Dr. Satanshu Mathur, who comes from a very small town in Uttarakhand. He's a medical director there. But in spite of being from just a taluka place, he has been the APO Ophthalmic Education Standing Committee member, a SARC chapter community ophthalmology member, and also a scientific committee chairman of ACOIN, along with doing and starting the SSTC in the AIOS. He has been given the honorary FICO award, and he's done, and we will see it with his enthusiasm, so many things. And we are really lucky to have him in the ISMSICS team. We have Dr. Devashish Bhattacharya, one of the icons of Indian ophthalmology. He is the founder chairman of the Disha Hospital, which is not only India's largest group practice, but it is also India's largest private practice, and they have 11 hospitals amongst them. He's the present president of ISMSICS, but he's also been the past president of AIOS, has been the editor proceedings, and he's a doyen of Indian ophthalmology in his own right. We have our young, dynamic secretary of ISMSICS, Dr. Srinivas Joshi, a renowned VR surgeon, but also a SICS cataract surgeon and a residency trainer from Joshi Eye Hospital, Hubli. Then we have Dr. Aarti Heda, a national coordinator of ISMSICS, who has, as you can see, many long list of degrees to her credit, the latest being the FRCS in Glasgow, which she's just got last week. And her areas of interest are cataract, glaucoma, cornea, and refractive surgery. And she also brings the international flair to our team. She served in Africa for 4 years in 3 different countries, and is the associate editor of our journal, and has been very, very active in the virtual training programs, and she's in charge of the masterclass webinar series under iToday. And then we have Dr. Jatinder Bali, who is the main moving force behind today's program, today's webinar, as the chairman of the research committee of ISMSICS. He's a very well-known cataract surgeon, and he has been the chair of the subcommittee on IT practice automation and clinical information of Delhi Ophthalmology Society. He's currently the library elect officer of DOS. And he's completed his MBA in operations research and he's author of a bestseller book on basics of biostatistics. And that is why he is here today. And he's our first speaker, and he'll be the one who will be kicking off the proceedings. With him, we have another speaker, Professor Purvi Bhagat, who is the professor and head of the glaucoma clinic in the MNJ, the West RIO in Ahmedabad, one of the largest and the busiest eye care centers in Western India. She has almost 70 plus PubMed publications and almost 200 presentations to her credit. And her field of interests are glaucoma, medical education, research. And she's also done the FIMER, International Fellowship in Medical Education. As a leader, as a lady, as a glaucoma specialist, as a public health ophthalmologist, as a teacher, Dr. Purvi wears many hats, and she has been decorated with various prestigious awards. She is also the editor of the Global Journal of Cataract Surgery, the ISMSICS journal that was just launched last month at AIOS. And we look forward to it being an internationally reputed journal in its own right under her leadership. And finally, our last speaker for today is Dr. Subir Dev, who's currently working at Dr. N.C. Joshi Hospital, New Delhi. He did his MBBS from the University College of Medical Sciences, New Delhi, and then his ophthalmology residency at the prestigious Guru Nanak Eye Center, Maulana Azad Medical College, and later at the DDU Hospital, Delhi. He has also been awarded the FICO by the International Council of Ophthalmology. And last year, he also became a member of the Royal College of Surgeons of Edinburgh. So with such a illustrious panel, and of course, three very eminent speakers who are very passionate about doing research in ophthalmology, I would hand this over to Dr. Jatinder Bali, who is the main, can say the chief protagonist of today's program. Over to you, Dr. Bali, sir.
Thank you so much, sir. It's always an honor to share the dais with you, sir. You've always been an inspiration for all of us. With the permission of the chair, could we, can you see my screen?
Hello.
Sir, can you see?
Yes,
Yes,
you
you're
hear
on the
me?
last slide. Last slide is there.
Right, sir.
So we can see
you-
the screen, sir.
Can you, Bali, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can I?
Yes, we can hear you, Sahu, sir.
Sir, yes, sir.
Let me speak a few things I have got in mind.
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, of course.
So we're waiting for you, sir.
See, this is one of the very powerful arm of ISMSICS. If you want international respect from people who matter, you must have a research wing with you. Now, with that mind, I'm lucky, and we are lucky in ISMSICS to get Bali at the Ham Up affair. Whatever little interaction I have got with him, before I choose him to be on the top of this branch, I didn't know him. I didn't know his work, but I have just listened to him, and then I decided he is the right person and he has not proved us wrong so far. So I think with this confidence in him, he is going to develop a wonderful system of research in ophthalmology. Not only it will benefit our MSICS people, but it will benefit everybody, including the phaco surgeons, because he has an incisive mind and knowledge about research. And with him, we have got talented people like Purvi and Aarti and all these people. It will be going to be a robust, wing of ISMSICS. So wish you all the best, Jatinder. Carry it forward.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, I'm really honored, and I'm lucky to have got the opportunity to collaborate with such eminent ophthalmologists. Sir, you've been an inspiration. You've given you've spent a lifetime with manual small incision cataract surgery, and it was a dream for me to get an opportunity to work with you, sir.
Yeah. So Parikshit is there. As you said, But he's there to guide you in this. He has done so much for
Sir,
publication.
I'm so happy to have become part of the community. And I still remember the 20th of December when we started off this program. And if you remember, our plan was, phase one, a pan-India footprint. And that, we've already achieved. So we are at the end of phase one. Now we're going into phase two, which was our international engagement and strengthening the internal resources, the seeds that we have sown inside the country. Now they should spread out into the hinterland. And once we have this on board, and this particular webinar series was again an idea of Dr. Boramani and Dr. Sahu, and we intend to have two different levels. The basic and the advanced level, and then eventually the idea is to go into a collaborative network, and there is so much to be done and there's so little time to do it in. I hope we we are able to live up to the expectations of the ISMSICS, Dr. Sahu, Dr. Boramani, Dr. Gogate, Dr. Mathur, and the other encouraging members from ISMSICS. So it has been a dream come true for me. My topic for today actually was real world evidence and who should engage in research and why, and rather how. I have no financial disclosures in this particular presentation. And whenever we talk of any research methodology workshop, we always start, the first slide is always hierarchy of evidence. Now, this is just a heuristic that is used to rank the relative strength of the results that we obtain from scientific research. Now, at the bottom of it, of course, is, case series and case reports, and then, case control studies, cohort studies, the randomized controlled trials, then multiple trials, we do a meta-analysis or a systematic review. And if we get the point measures and all of them are pointing in a particular direction, we issue the clinical practice guidelines. These are what we use to treat our patients with. But the story doesn't end here. Once we have treated our patients, we've also generated data. And now the world is increasingly becoming interested in this data, which comes out of treatment. Whether it is, you remember it used to be phase 1, 2, 3 clinical trials, and then, marketing of the drug. Now we have post-marketing pharmacovigilance, as well as post-marketing surveillance. Now, this is all real-world data. Now, let me give you an example. When you go out to buy a car, your first reaction, of course, is you want to know how much the car, what's the mileage you're going to get out of a car, or how many kilometers to a liter or a gallon of gasoline it is going to give you. So the first thing the dealer will tell you is that this is the ARAI certified mileage of this car, maybe 23.9 or whatever. Now, this is under standardized test conditions. 95% of the time, you're not going to get this mileage. So what is the mileage you're going to get? You're going to get, 15 kilometers in the city. You're going to get 20, 21 kilometers on the highway. That is real world data. So what is real world data when we talk of medicine? Now, real world data in medicine is what is the data which is collected outside of the trials, outside of the studies. This is the data which lies in your health records, in your electronic health records, your clinical health records, in your claims, in your billing activities, in your product and disease registries, in the patient-generated data, that wearables that they use, and data gathered from other sources which can inform us on the health status of the individuals. Now, this is increasingly becoming more and more useful and more mainline. It is being used for taking healthcare decisions, the regulatory decisions. We are developing guidelines and decision support tools using it. Innovative new treatment approaches are coming in, and new clinical trial designs like large simple trials, pragmatic clinical trials, etc., are also coming in. It's notable that there's something called the 21st Century Cures Act, which was promulgated in 2016 in the United States of America, which permitted certain types of data to be used for regulatory approvals also. Now, when we talk of real world evidence by clinicians, There are a lot of examples. There's this Michigan Bariatric Surgery Collaborative, which uses a tool which puts in all the data from different types of patients, and then it evaluates which bariatric surgery will work the best for a particular type of patient. So it is just an individualized decision support tool. And now what is happening is that research publications are permitting the use of real-world evidence from the clinical registries to advance knowledge. I will give you the example of the IRIS, or the Intelligent Research Insight. This was an American Academy initiative since 2014, and this is the largest specialty database with around 300 million patient visits. And it has given us very interesting clinical insights. It told us that, no matter what we've been saying in conferences, most of the patients did not get anti-VEGF in the first 28 days. When they did get anti-VEGF, it was more likely to be bevacizumab compared to ranibizumab. And we also learned about, treat and extend strategies. We learned that, most of the patients required a small number of injections. All this would not have been possible through standardized trials. Now, IRIS is only US. FRB is something which is picking up data from the US, from Europe, and also from the Middle East. So we have examples of this in ophthalmology, and we are developing guidelines using this. Now, the question that you will ask me is, why am I discussing this on the small incision cataract surgery platform? The reason for it is that most of the people that are present in our audience have worked in this field for a long period of time, and they are sitting on very high quality data that the world is interested in. So if I remember people used to talk of, that I'm in a standalone practice, I'm in a group practice, I don't have institutional support. Maybe, I should publish case reports, case series. No, the world has moved forward. We are using better techniques. We're using more advanced statistical techniques. We need more data. We need high quality data. So how do you collect high quality data? You document your work meticulously. Don't have any missing values whatsoever. Have good control over your processes. And for you, it is just, a case sheet, but the information that comes out of it is the next liquid gold. So when we are generating real world evidence, what is really important is that the real world data should be of extremely high quality. And that is where all the practitioners of manual small incision cataract surgery come in. Next question that arises is, who should do this research? Anybody with intellectual curiosity who has who uses reflective thinking, questions to find out answers, and continues to read the related literature is the person who should be in research. With prudence, somebody using man, money, materials effectively and economically to answer the scientific questions, with a high tolerance for healthy criticism, and is doubtful about the veracity of those results. Because your science works on skepticism. So honesty and skepticism, those are the two pillars on which we base our peer review. I've left the last most important trait of a good researcher for the last, and that is intellectual honesty. This means that you say, you do what you say, and you record what you see. What we need is honest collection of data and honest interpretation of data. Of course, there is no end to acrostics. For example, it should be research-oriented, efficient, economical, but not with truth, scientific, effective, active, resourceful, creative, honest. There's no end to it. But always remember that what the world needs is high quality data to get high quality evidence. Now, how do you go about generating that is by following an acrostic that we call police. First you plan, then you organize, then you lead the team, you implement the strategy, you control the variables, you collect the data, and then you evaluate it and go back to planning stage again. So for every action of yours, have a systematic approach. Your documentation should be meticulous so that other researchers are able to check the validity of the method that you have used, and they get, replicable results by using the same method. You should not be influenced by personal preferences, prejudices, biases, and attitudes. Scientific research is an assessment of what is. It is not an assessment of what it should be. So we are talking about it today because today anybody can publish from anywhere if he has the will to do it, and if he is meticulous enough to record what he is doing. And what we have done here is we are creating a community which will be able to certify the quality of evidence, the quality of data that is emanating from a center. And that is why we are doing hand-holding. In phase 2, there will be multiple webinars, there will be multiple engagements at state level and at the international level. And then we become a collaborative network where people can come and they can come to us for anything under the sun. That's what my dream is, actually. And I think that's all I have to say on the subject. Thank you so much, sir.
Awesome.
Over to you, sir.
Dr. Rajwinder, please.
Now I invite Dr. Purvi. She will speak on how to select an appropriate journal. Over to you, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajwinder, and would like to thank Dr. Bali sir, not only for this inviting me for this webinar, but also for this, a landmark series that is going to begin today. And of course, to the International Society of ISMSICS, who is constantly coming up with innovative and very relevant and useful, strategies and programs and events. So talking of research, once you have done your research and you have spent weeks and months and maybe even years on a project or a study or a clinical trial, the next obvious goal and the step would be to get it disseminated and share with your colleagues and with the scientific community in general. And there comes the relevance and the importance of selecting an appropriate journal, because your journal and the place where you publish, that is going to decide how well your research work is going to be taken up and how well it is going to influence the scientific community. So for this, the questions that you need to ask yourself are, first and most important is whether the journal is genuine and authentic. Is the journal peer reviewed? What are the journal characteristics? What is its impact factor? And finally, are the journal and article both appropriate for each other or not? So I'll just go through all of these step by step and we decide how to decide the journal for us. Whenever you have done some work, the two main important things that you first need to see is what is the kind of research that you have done, what is your topic, theme, and what are its outcomes and what is the title. So that will help you to decide whether you need to go for a general medical journal or a specialist journal. Like, if, for example, if you have done something like, say, ophthalmic findings in pregnancy or something related to COVID vaccine, fundus findings after COVID vaccine, vascular occlusions after COVID vaccine or after COVID infection, then perhaps those are things which might influence and be of interest to general ophthalmologists, general practitioners, and maybe even physicians and other medical professionals and health professionals. So those kinds of topics you may perhaps want to, go for a medical, general medical journal. But if it is something very specialist, like we talked of SICS or astigmatism in SICS, a pediatric glaucoma, or genetics in pediatric glaucoma, that would not, interest, or somebody who is a physician or who is a general ophthalmologist might perhaps not be interested in all those topics. So for those topics, you need to have a specialist journal, like a journal of glaucoma, or simply even a journal of ophthalmology or journal of cornea or something like that, depending again on your content. So that is something which you need to decide first. Another reason why you need to decide this first is because that will help you to write your manuscript. Because if you're writing for a general, scientific community, then you'll have to structure your introduction, define certain things, explain them, the ophthalmic concepts and everything in detail. But if you're writing for a specialist, like if you're writing in the journal of glaucoma, then there you need to define what is glaucoma and what are the types of glaucoma and all that. So you can right away begin with your topic and your research content. The second and most important thing is whether the journal is genuine or whether it is predatory. Now, talking about predatory journals, it could be another webinar or another long talk in itself. But just to give you brief ideas, these are journals which appear very lucrative, and all of us keep receiving these mails from them that as if we are the best researcher in the world and we have done the best publications, and something we have written somewhere has impressed them and all those kinds of things. When you go to their website, it looks very fishy, and the language, the grammar, the content is also not very appropriate and up to the mark. If you see the entire quality of the journal, the articles may not appear up to the mark. You have to see what are the kinds of authors, whether the journal is regularly published or not, what are the processing fees, and whether it is peer reviewed or not. And of course, you have to cross check from other websites also. So you have to check for all this and see whether the journal is genuine, valid and authentic, or it is a predatory journal. Then you have to see whether the journal is peer reviewed or it is non-peer reviewed. Peer reviewed is basically once you submit an article, it is sent to a series of experts, maybe usually 2, 3 or 5, and they review your manuscript and see whether it can be accepted. It needs some changes which are appropriate to the journal or the topic, or some questions which have been left unanswered and you have to answer them and provide explanations, or it is not appropriate either from the writing point of view, or not appropriate for the journal, or not appropriate from the scientific rigor, and it just needs to be rejected. Non-peer reviewed, of course, you just submit to it and it will right away, you pay for it and it would be right away accepted. So all these kinds of non-peer reviewed, of course, put a question mark on the quality, and they should at all times be avoided. Peer review is basically to improve the quality of the article and the quality of the research that you are presenting and their manuscript. Then you have to see whether the journal is indexed or non-indexed. Indexed, the main 2 advantages are, one is, of course, now because of the NMC criteria for promotions, you need to have certain types of articles published in certain types of indexed journals. So if your need for having a publication is eligibility for promotion, then of course you need to consider for those indexing agencies. And the second is indexing means, again, it's a kind of a quality assurance kind of a mark on the journal, like it's indexed in the PubMed, Medline, Scopus. So all those are kinds of a quality marks on and stamps on those journals. So you may want to see if it is indexed or not. But second thing to keep in mind, that if it is not indexed, it does not mean that it is a poor quality journal or it is a predatory journal, because indexing is something which happens over time. It does not happen like the first issue of a journal is published and it has to be indexed or it will be indexed immediately. It is a gradual process which happens through a definite process. There is a checklist which needs to be done. You have to apply to the agencies. They verify that checklist. And if your journal appears appropriate to them, then they will take you up in that indexing agency. So non-indexing does not mean that it is a poor quality journal or it is a predatory journal. Then you have to see whether it is published regularly, what is the scope of the journal, that is what are the subjects and disciplines it accepts, and what is the readership and distribution of the journal. You have to see the time from submission to acceptance and acceptance to publication, because you cannot just submit to a journal and then keep waiting for months or years for the publication to happen and you get stuck. And even if the publication does happen, your research would be outdated by then. So you have to see what is the average time taken by the journal for the entire processing. And you have to see the acceptance and rejection rate. A higher acceptance rate, usually, not always and not necessarily, but it means that probably somewhere the process is going fast or it may be even compromised. And rejection rate higher means there is a very stringent process which is going on, and it's probably a very highly meritorious journal. So you have to see whether both are balanced or not. So all this information that I talked about would be available on the journal website. Like this is the website of our GJCSRO. So you can see everything is written on the website. You just go through this, the aims and scope, audience, the review process, what is the editorial team, and what is the abstracting and indexing information. So you just go through this and see whether it is appropriate to you or not, and whether it, of course, it is an authentic journal or not. Other measures of quality are whether it is an accepted and read journal and a generally referenced journal. The number of downloads that are happening from that journal, all that would be again available from the website. The journal statistics would be there. What is the editorial board composition? What are the publishing ethics of the journal? Again, information available on the website. Whether the journal is linked to some societies or associations. For example, the IGO is linked to the AIOS. The GJCSRO is linked to the International Society of ISMSICS. So it gives you what the background of that journal is, or it has just popped up from nowhere, and it has just come up from somebody's mind and somebody's home. So you have to see what is the background of that journal, and of course the nationality and internationality. Again, all of us would always be interested in publishing in our article in the international journals, but do keep in mind that if your research is, you have done a small research in a small corner of the state or country, would it be really relevant to somebody who's sitting in, say, Kenya or maybe UK or somewhere? Would it be relevant to them? Would they be interested in reading your article? If no, then there are high chances that that journal would reject your article. So do keep in mind whether your journal does have a global relevance or not. Always review recent publications in each candidate journal and what are the types of articles they are accepted, what are the hot topics, and what is the strategy of the journal if you can identify. Check your own references also. See where your own references have been published. So that also will give you a list of journals which can be potential targets for your own publication. Then coming to the impact factor, it's a very simple descriptive numerical value which gives you an idea about the journal's quality and performance. It's a citation data of a 2-year period. It is published every June. So recently in this June, it was published for all the journals. And it is also now better known as the Thomson Reuters or the JCR, that is the Journal Citations Report. So how is the IF calculated? It's very simple. It's just a ratio. All citable articles in the journal for a 2-year period, and the numerator would be all the citations that have actually happened during those 2 years. So example, if there are 60 citable articles that have been published in a year of say 2007 to 8, and 20 citations have happened, then the impact factor would be 20 by 60, that is 0.3. It's as simple as that. And this impact factor would be for 2009. If I calculate the data for 2008 and 9, I would get the impact factor for 2010 and so on. So recently the IGO, we have seen this floating all around. The impact factor rose from something like 1 point something to 2.9. So it is usually a general belief that higher the impact factor, better the journal. But you also have to keep in mind that higher the impact factor means more meritorious is the journal, and more stringent it would be its review process, and higher the rejection rate would the journal be having. There are also certain other problems with the impact factor. The citations that happen, they just give you a small clue to the quality of the journal. It just measures the interest of that researcher. It just tells you that the other researcher who I cited an article finds this article relevant to them and somewhere related. It does not tell you the importance and usefulness of that article. Citations can also happen because the article is invalid, because there is some negative correlation, and journal also prefers some more of those articles which have some citation value. So if you feel that your article may not have a citation value, again, it is likely to be rejected. So that you have to keep in mind. Also decide on your priority. You can have a shotgun approach or a sniper approach for your publications. Shotgun as in you publish large number of papers to lower quality, lower ranking or easier journals. Advantage, of course, your CV would lend in lots of publications and you can impress everybody and all that. It is also a kind of a learning curve for you, that through those publications you get to learn how to write, how to submit, what is the publication process. Disadvantage, of course, because these are low ranking journals, your publications might not have that merit, might not have great readership and all that. Or you can have a sniper approach. It takes very long. You can just submit 1 or 2 publications, but whatever they are submitted to high ranking journals. So advantage, of course, lot of value, PubMed indexed or something like that. But you have to keep in mind that it would take very long and there would be higher chances of multiple revisions and rejection also. Also, if the top journals do reject your paper, always keep in mind that you can all use these referees comments, because all the rejections and revisions, they come with comments. So you can use all that to improve on your manuscript, and then you can submit to a lower ranking journal. So don't get disheartened that if a meritorious journal or a high ranking journal has rejected, it would not be accepted anywhere. You can always improvise and submit to a lower ranking journal, but the reverse will not work. So even if a lower ranking journal has rejected your manuscript, that means there is something substantially very wrong with your writing or manuscript or methodology. Somewhere something is wrong, and then there are very less chances that it might be accepted anywhere else. So whether a shotgun or a sniper, it depends on what is your reason to submit. You want just publications for the sake of promotions, your promotion is due and you want lots of publications done. You want to increase your departmental number of publications. You just want to learn about the process of writing and publication, or you want to improve your CV and let others know what you're doing and how many publications you have. So that might give you a reason to have a shotgun approach. Or there is something more important, like you want to qualify for grants, you want to register a discovery, some innovation that you have made, some invention you have done. You want to get your substantial research quality stamped by publication, you want to get your research disseminated, and you want to leave a really good permanent record of research. Then you need to go for a sniper type of approach. But of course, these can overlap and it's not fixed. You can have any type of an approach for any type of an article. And finally, if all this does not help, if you're still in doubt, you can always write to the editor of the journal you're thinking of, send them an outline and abstract, tell them about yourself, your background, about the article, why do you think it is important, how it is going to contribute to science, and ask them if it is worthy of submitting to your journal. But again, keep in mind that if the editor says, yes, you can submit, it is not a guarantee of acceptance. It is just that it is appropriate for that journal and they can consider it for the process at least. And of course, you have your colleagues and mentors and guides all around you who can tell you from their experiences what journals would be suitable. So finally, remember, always get your best work in the best journals. At all times, stay away from predatory journals. Avoid non-refereed and non-peer-reviewed journals. Avoid editors and publishers and journals that work very slowly. And most important, publication ethics is always decide on any one journal only. It is totally against ethics to submit to multiple journals. Submit to one, see what happens, await for the reply, and then if it is rejected or it's not working out, then you can withdraw, or if it's rejected, you can then submit to another journal, but never to multiple journals. Thank you so much. I just hope that helps.
Wonderful lecture, Dr. Puri. Ma'am, we can have discussion, I think, for 2 minutes regarding Dr. Aditya Bali's lecture and Dr. Puri's. Dr. Jitendra, you are not audible.
Sir, you are muted.
Yeah, well, I would like to add to Dr. Purvi's comments. When you get a modification or you get a rejection, don't think of it as a rejection. It is, you should approach it with an open mind. And if it's a modification, you answer it. There are ways of answering modifications, and we'll be discussing it in times to come. And every time you get a feedback, it is always a learning experience. Don't think of it as a rejection.
We welcome Dr. Sudhanshu Mathur also. So your
Good evening, Mathur sir.
Unmute yourself.
Purvi has rightly said, if one journal has rejected your paper, it is not the door closed for everything. We can try for the other journals. There are a lot of journals nowadays available nationally, internationally. But we should be We should be in the habit of writing, presenting, and accepting the rejection and trying again the same journal and other journals. Should not get depressed, or you should not get irritated that you are journal, because there are many papers who are better than you. So they accepted your paper. So this is always an indication to you to improve yourself.
True, sir. And many a
Okay, sir.
times the reviewer gives very good comments, and the comments can help to improve our paper. But then all of us need your hyper positive approach, Dr. Mathur, sir.
Dr. Sahu sir, Dr. Boramadi sir, any expert comments?
No, these were, I think, sort of introductory lectures, how to publish or how to select your journal. So many things were new to me, and for a beginner, it is a new thing. But I think eventually ISMSICS will do a lot of research, lot of publication with the guidance of all of you stalwarts. That's what. You're already into publication, so it will help. In fact, see, 70% of the surgeons, or more than 70% in India especially, are doing SICS work. But proportionately, the publications in SICS are very few. Whenever you search for SICS, mostly Dr. Gokte's name pops up. So very few publications are there. But there, I know for sure many surgeons are doing a lot of SICS work. They are doing a lot of different methodologies. They must behind their own data, but they are never into publications. But I think now with the guidance of ISMSICS and all these research stalwarts in ISMSICS, there will be a lot of publications in future.
Dr. Boramani said the issue which we are going to publish in this IGO will also motivate a lot of people to publish.
Yes. That will motivate a lot of publishing.
So that was a fantastic idea, I think, and I think Dr. Sahu and Dr. Boramani need to be credited for having that foresight. And we're lucky to have Dr. Gogate here as you know, as a mentor.
Correct. Everyone needs to be credited. Surprisingly, the response for IGO special issue is extremely good. But even Dr. Purvi has done a great work in publishing our first journal. The quality of the journal also is superb. And now we're having the Mexico issue, Mexico specific issue. So I think this journal also will be our regular publications, and hopefully it will become an index journal.
And one thing again, sir, Dr. Varun, sir.
Yeah.
Few years back, nobody was giving importance to the SICS paper presentation.
Yes.
But now the time, this is another reason we have got the less publications. Parikshit has got a name because his paper was accepted. A different thing by the personal hello. But otherwise, nobody was writing and nobody was accepting the publications. But now the time has changed, scenery has changed, people acceptance has changed. So I think more and more people will be there, presentation will be there now in future.
Yes, it may happen in future. Many eminent phaco surgeons may get converted into SICS surgeons, and they will also do a lot of publications in SICS. It is possible.
Dr. Aarti, you want to add something?
I think this initiative is very good. I mean, especially for people, those who are just starting or those who are young ophthalmologists, it will be of great help. So, this is going to last along with them. And I'm glad to have been associated with probably all the work which is going on here and there related to SICS. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we move forward to Dr.
Hello. Yeah,
Dr. Sahu. Yes, sir.
See, we have Jatinder, we are going to help you with making a research cell in every chapter of ISMSICS. We will have a research cell. Shortly, Jagannath will give a circular to select few people who are interested in research. So you will have a direct contact with them to motivate them and bring them into their fold. So we will spot the talents from the ground root level, so that there is we create a network of talents, because it should not be top heavy, it should be bottom heavy. So that is the point. So the talents should come from the bottom.
Yeah.
So we will be sending a circular shortly. I think Jagannath will do that.
Yeah. And I correct myself, it was not Mexico. I think it is a Brazil specific issue, isn't it? Yeah.
So there's a lot of talent, waiting to spring forth. Like I was really surprised with so many techniques when we started working on the IGO issue. there are so many techniques that people have been using for years altogether without putting their name to it, and I'm happy that others have not usurped it. So really talented people in the society, sir.
Okay. So next.
Sir, our next speaker is Dr. Suvir Dev. He will speak on the literature search. Over to you, sir.
Thank you so much. Wonderful presentation, Dr. Purvi ma'am, Dr. Chitpali sir, and golden words from our mentors. I will take this forward. My today's topic of discussion is literature search. So, in a summary of what I'm going to talk today is what exactly is literature, why do we need it, background of literature search, types of literature, challenges in literature search, ideal skills in literature search. You systematically refine your search, examples of how to do literature search, some helpful strategies, and tips for effective searches. So in crude terms, if we define literature, written and spoken material, and it's a Latin word meaning writing formed with letters. A nice definition I found on the internet by J.H. Newman, which says writings having excellence of form or expression and expressing ideas of permanent or universal interest. Simply put together, a collection of all the scholarly writings on a topic. Literature search is an exhaustive search for published information on the subject conducted systematically, of using all the tools aimed at locating as much existing material on a topic as possible. And it's a very important initial step for the serious research product. Why do we need it? We need it to broaden our knowledge on a topic, helps us to keep updated, reviews existing opinions and theories, identify current research findings on a topic, identify potential research methods or models you could use in your various studies, and comparison of your study with others. Looking at the background, availability of various types of academic and scientific publications which support teaching, learning, and research activities. One of the core academic skills students and academicians need to possess and master while doing a research project. And these publications, as we all know, are growing enormously over the years. With the advancement of information and technology, we are inundated with tens and thousands of articles every day being added to PubMed, leading us to drown into an ocean of data. Now, if you think that you want to retrieve some specific data, there are two alternatives. Either dive in blindly or use something of this sort to fetch the desired results. That is where efficient literature search comes in. And I think it's the need of the hour, but it demands a well-organized and systematic approach, saving time and energy, and helps retrieve relevant information. Types of literature can be scientific, non-scientific. Scientific can be text, journals, reports. Non-scientific can be fiction, books, magazines, and papers. Scientific is written by and aimed at academic community, students, lecturers, researchers, and experts. They cite resources and are peer-reviewed, high quality and reliable information, slow to be published due to review process. Access is often fee-based. Now, some challenges such as growing quantity of publications may cause some problem, and pertinent to the quality of information, sometimes not relevant to the context, and sometimes unreliable for some reasons. And availability of information needs. At times, you have a research topic in your mind which has paucity of literature. That creates some problems. And there may be constraints in access due to various reasons, technical, economical, and policy issues. Some ideal skills are desired in literature search. One should be able to identify various kinds of publications, able to know and use various search tools, able to conduct efficient and effective searches, implement relevant search, and able to evaluate quality of information. Of our interest are the research journals, the standard textbooks, also the online census, research institutes, government organizations, namely WHO and Indian Council of Medical Research, and finally, the Google Scholar and PubMed, to name a few, the online resources. Now coming to the systematically refine your search. Whenever you begin, first thing which comes to your mind is strategy. And searching strategy, the first thing which comes to your mind is search terms. Search terms are sometimes also referred to as keywords, and they can be a subject, topic, or any distinct word used as point of access. You have to use appropriate search terms, and it's very essential. So the beginning, you have to brainstorm for possible search terms that represent your search queries. Subject headings, list of control languages used to classify library material housed in the collection. One of the examples, MESH, medical subject headings, developed by NLM, PubMed Central. Boolean logic, another method developed by the English mathematician George Boolean that allows user to combine words and phrases and representing significant concepts. Logical commands such as and, or, not. Some databases use and, represented by a symbol, plus, or may be used implicitly. So Boolean operators, very important. The or operator broadens the search, and operator is used to combine two concepts and narrow down a search, and not operator when you want to exclude something from your search results. Let us take one example. If I want to search and if I want to find a relation between pterygium and UV exposure, and if I write or, it will broaden the search. It will give us the results which contain pterygium and UV exposure combined, as well as individual UV exposure and individual pterygium. When I use and, pterygium and UV exposure, can you see the central gray shaded area? It will give all the results which have pterygium and UV exposure only, not individual pterygium, not UV exposure. Now, if you want to exclude UV exposure, all right, I want to study about pterygium. So I want to write pterygium, not UV exposure. I don't want UV exposure. So I have to write not exposure. So you see only the data available for pterygium. Let me take you to PubMed Central. Let's see pterygium or UV exposure. You see the number of articles, 205,717. When I write pterygium and UV exposure, narrow down the search to 544. And when I write pterygium and not UV exposure, we can see 4,400 something. Yet I exclude all the data of UV exposure related to pterygium. Another way is truncation. Some word endings are replaced by symbols such as asterisks and question mark, $, depending on the bit. So when I type cataract and with the asterisk, the result will be documented with similar looking words like cataract, cataracta, cataractogenesis, and cataractus. Let me take you to PubMed again. Cataract with asterisk, and you see, just a moment. Cataractogenesis, cataract, and cataractus, all three of them. You can use limits and filters. Limits and filters when your search is too broad or too many terms are there, like there's so many articles you've searched. Okay, so you can use in the advanced search section. You can have sort by the date of publication, the type of publication, the research funder. Again, looking at the article attributes, text availability, publication date, 1 year, 5 years, 10 years. You can set a custom date, research funders. So summarizing the stages of searching. We have to search, define the search topics, choose appropriate search terms, keywords, decide where to search, which sources to use, develop a search strategy by optimizing search tools, observe search results, and revise the search results as necessary. Let us talk about MSICS or astigmatism. When I type these two, as I told you previously, look at the number of articles, 16,322. And when I combine it with and, MSICS and astigmatism, look at the drastic reduction to 81. And if I want to see all the research done in India, so MSICS and astigmatism and India, it narrows down to 63. Looking at Google Scholar results also, a similar search engine like PubMed Central, when I type MSICS, 1550 results. When I type MSICS astigmatism, reduced down to 482. And when I type MSICS astigmatism and India, it is reduced even further to 392. Summarizing the results, 16,081, 63, all three of them. Similar at Google Scholar, 1550, 482, 392. Other helpful strategies may be like you can have a look at the bibliography section of the selected articles, which may help you find related articles on the search topic. Citations, like higher the number of citations, more valuable and important is the article from the relevant information point of view. But as Dr. Purvi ma'am mentioned, that there can be negative citations and etc. So we have to be careful about that. Sometimes you see repetitive names of books, articles, and authors. So you can type them in the advanced search section to view similar research work conducted and find a more few relevant articles. So finally, summarizing, plan your search, identify the words, avoid using too broad or too general terms, use specific terms instead to get limited but relevant results, use limited or filter function necessary. You may create an account, online account. and on the search databases, which may help you manage searches, search results, references, set up preferences, and alerts, and many others. Thank you so much, and I hope just be a smart searcher.
Thank you for such a wonderful lecture.
Yeah, very short and sweet and very useful lecture.
Thank you, sir.
Any questions in the chat? It is not visible to me.
Any questions there? Very well done, Dr. Suvir. I
Not
think
yet.
what we need to really understand here is that always document your search strategy, because that is required to be given to the journal, especially if you're doing a meta-analysis or a systematic review. And it always helps to create the account and then save your search, because there's no point in wasting your time again and again. So always save the search, and then you can always import it into the various citation managers which are available. Dr. Gogate, I think, would be able to add more on that with his extensive experience in RCTs and in meta-analysis.
I think all the three speakers have really given us a very good overview as to how to start doing research. And of course, now, I mean, 20 years ago, I remember when I did my dissertation in Government Medical College, Miraj, we would have to come to Pune, go to the National Informatics Center, sit there, because they are the only ones who had access to PubMed. And I remember for typing, it was a dissertation on capsulotomy, and we had typed capsule, and we got everything related to knee surgery and the capsule of the knee, because we didn't know. Now, because of technology, in your own mobile phone, we can do all the searches. So, but again, as Dr. Suvir said, yes, there is so much information available that it's difficult to, separate the chaff from the grain, what is really needed. And I think, as Dr. Sahu said and Dr. Purvi said, we need a lot more research and work on small incision cataract surgery, because compared to the sheer volume of surgery that is done, there is still very less actually published research material on it, which will help all of us.
So we have one question from Dr. Aishwarya. Maybe Parikshit sir, you can take this up. Sir, mostly the journals which are published in good journals require at least one renowned author. So how can a new researcher overcome that?
I don't think it is that. I mean, one of the first publications we had was in ophthalmology, which is the official journal of the American Academy of Ophthalmology. So when none of us were, known anywhere for that matter. So I don't think it is the case. A lot of work is reviewed, not blindly, it is maskedly. I will not say the reviewers do their work blindly, but then the reviewers do not know whose work they are reviewing. The editors know, of course, having a famous name or a very well-known personality as one of the authors definitely tips it in the favor. But then it is still, I mean, a fairly fair process. In some ways, when we as Indians, we publish or try to publish in journals in the West, because we are not used to the way of doing it, like getting the ethics committee clearances, or doing the randomization properly, or keeping the data properly, or seeing to it that the follow-up is, if not 100%, at least 70 to 80%. I mean, earlier we would think that a 1 week or a 6-week follow-up is enough for cataract surgery. But for any good, decent study, they would want a year's follow-up, perhaps nowadays many years follow-up. So, well, I mean, having a famous name definitely helps, but I don't think it's the only test, because even in the Indian journal, we see so many, youngsters, newcomers publishing. So I don't think we should think that as a barrier.
I think
Dr.
I
Pandey,
agree with,
your take on this, sir?
I absolutely agree with Gogate, sir. You see, my first publication was in what is called the True Blue US journal. It was High Altitude Medicine and Biology, and the kind of questions they asked about the statistical analysis, they were very revealing. they were very pointed questions and very specific questions aimed at specific things. And I did not have any big names associated with me. In fact, after that article, my article actually predates the Gustavo quartets and Deepa's working in high altitude. And then I became a peer reviewer. Because of that article, I became a peer reviewer for high altitude for a very long period of time. So I think let me debunk that theory first of all. If your work is good, there are always, remember three things. One is your quality of data. Second thing is we keep on telling people that it should be, you remember finer, it should be novel. You try to answer something new, and that's when you get published. And of course, the quality of work speaks for itself. If there are a lot of grammatical errors, if your statistical analysis is bad, if your study design is bad, please don't expect that an international journal is going to accept you, because you'll have to come several notches down if your study design is not all right. I would leave it over to Dr. Purvi to probably fill in on that.
Yeah, actually, in fact, in nowadays scenario, it is never that anybody is rejected just because a person is a new researcher or is young or it is unknown. It is never the case. In fact, all journals, and that is the main actually reason for this webinar, that we want more and more people to get involved in research and more people to publish. The probable impression that might have resulted to this conclusion could be that because as a young researcher, you are inexperienced, you do not know probably how to write, what is the process, there could have been errors, revisions could have come back, or something might have happened, and that could have ultimately given an impression that just because I am new and I'm inexperienced, my articles are getting rejected. So
in fact, many of the journals, what they do is it is a blinded process insofar as the peer review, they remove the names. There are some journals which do allow the names to go through, but most of the journals usually the peer reviewer does not get A, the institution, B, the name of the researcher. If it is there, that is supposed to be an ethical malpractice actually. Gogate sir.
Okay.
Sahu sir saying
No, I
something.
think you said it.
Yeah, so it's a good
Sahu sir
beginning.
kuch keh rahe? Haan ji sir?
It's a good beginning, and let us take it forward. And Purvi, your presentation was very, it was clear and precise.
thank you, sir.
Very nice.
Thank you, sir.
So original professor hai, sir.
So, very lot of clarity is there, and everybody did a good job. But because I am not that knowledgeable, so I appreciate Purvi's things. That means the way you have presented, the other people can relate to you very nicely.
Thank
Yes. So it's a wonderful thing, and Bali, so a lot of the work you have to do. And before we meet next time, which we are thinking of charging people for 100.
So we're looking towards Dr. Boramani for the surgically induced astigmatism, and Dr. Gogate for the micro and macro economics of it. So we developed a template, and now we're going to go forwards on that one. Sir, anything in SICS, Dr. Gogate ka naam to usme hai hi hai, sir. All literature has it.
Yeah, he is our literature face all over the world. Anywhere you click, people know him.
No, sir.
Good
I
thing.
was lucky that in 1995, when I joined, Dr. Sanjay Rasar, who was my co-houseman, so Dr. N. Kulkarni, sir, at that time had given him a dissertation on manual SICS. So that time we would do the Peter Kansa's phaco fracture technique or the trisection technique. And that is how it started. And then I was lucky to be at Arvind, and then also lucky to be at Moorfields, ICH, where they taught me research methodology. I didn't realize then, but Richard Wormald was one of the most famous randomized control trial experts in the UK. So he happened to be my supervisor. So I think I was just lucky to be in the right place at the right time many, many years ago. So, but of course, SICS has brought us a lot of laurels, and it has, yeah, a lot of patients are happy with it. And I think all of us have gained professionally because of that.
So thank you, everybody. Can you close it now?
Right, sir.
So
Yeah,
I would like to thank all the expert panels, the speakers for their wonderful lectures, and viewers for taking out their time for this webinar. And I would also like to
Dr.
Yes,
Rajwinder, maybe I think Shank has to play that
and Todd also.
video thing. Yeah,
Yes.
video thing he has to
Yes.
play.
Yep.
And
So with
okay.
the permission of everybody, Shank, are you there? That was great. And I'll take this opportunity to thank Dr. Sahu sir, Dr. Boramani, Dr. Gogate, Dr. Mathur, the speakers, Dr. Purvi, Dr. Suvir, Dr. Rajwinder, and Dr. Aarti for sparing time on Friday evening. Normally, thank God it's Friday. I've wasted your Friday, you know. And I hope to waste a lot of other Fridays, and I hope a lot more people join in. And everybody who's logged in on YouTube and Facebook, thank you everyone, and do give us
Yes,
your
a big
feedback.
thanks to the viewers.
Thank you. It's because of the viewers that we are there, and we'd like your feedback, and we'd like you to come back for more, and tell us what exactly are the areas of interest that you would that you would like us to cover. Dr. Boramani's email ID is there with everybody, and I think he's our go-to person for all our communications. Or is it Aarti? Yes, sir.
Both. Yeah.
Both.
Aarti, you
So I
can do
think-
the announcement of tomorrow's webinar also. Many viewers must be watching.
Yeah. So tomorrow we have an excellent webinar coming up with Nigeria chapter of ISMSICS, where we are going to discuss basics of capsular access. So it will be a great learning. We have great speakers with us. So the details have been already circulated and is already on our website as well. So we'll be very glad to have you all as the audience. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay then. Bye bye.
Thank you.